This is part 2 of chapter 6, The Rape of the Mind. There are other cultures which emphasize attitudes and values that are different from these. The Eastern ideal of man as we find it in China and some of the other Oriental countries is in the first place that of oneness, of being one with the family, one with the fatherland, one with the cosmos, nirvana. The Oriental psyche looks for a direct aesthetic contact with reality through an indefinable empathy and intuition. Eternal truth is behind reality, behind the veil of Maya. Man is part of the universe. His ideal is passive servility and non-irritability. His ideal of peace lies in rest and relaxation, in meditation, in being without manual and mental travail. The happiness of the Oriental psyche lies in the ecstasy of feeling united with the universal cosmos. Ascesis, self-redemption, and poverty are better realized ideals in Oriental culture than in our Western society. The classic Oriental culture pattern can best be described as a pattern of participation. In it, the individual is looked upon as an integral part of the group, the family, the caste, the nation. He is not a separate and independent entity. In this culture, greater conformity to and acceptance of the collective rules are the ideals. An Oriental child may be trained from infancy into a pattern of submission to authority and to the rules of the group. Many primitive cultures also display this pattern. To a person raised in these cultures, the most acceptable standards, the best conceivable thoughts and actions are those sanctioned by the group. The totalitarian world of mass actions and mass thoughts is far more comprehensible to the members of a participation patterned and less individual-minded culture than it is to Western individualists. What is to us unbearable regimentation and authoritarianism may be to them comforting order and regularity. An example of an intensified pattern of participation and thought control and mutual spying has been given by the anthropologist E.P. Dozier. Let me read that sentence again. I had the wrong emphasis. An example of an intensified pattern of participation and thought control and mutual spying has been given by the anthropologist E.P. Dozier. The Pueblo Indians of the Rio Grande area believe that wrongdoing or wrong thinking of one man in the tribe affects all members. He may upset the cosmic balance by ill feeling toward any one of his fellow men. The moral code of the village is group-centered. The individual who transgresses this jeopardizes the well-being of all. Epidemics, crop failures, droughts are interpreted as a result of deviationism of one member of the group. Village members are closely watched and spied on in order to discover the culprit or witch. Gossip and accusations of witchcraft are rampant, and the Pueblo Indian is constantly searching in his own conscience for harmful thoughts and attitudes. It is as if we match the ritual of the purge in the totalitarian state. Such forms of creeping collectivism and participation we may see in every group formation where tolerance for nonconformism ceases to exist. Wherever dogmatic partisanship dominates, the mind is coerced. We may even detect such encroaching tendencies in some scientific circles where there exists an overemphasis on group research, teamwork, membership cards, and a disdain for individual opinion. The culture into which a man is born and his own psychological constitution interact to produce his personality in much the same way as his body and mind interact to produce his behavior. Our culture of individual freedom may offer us a partial immunity to the disease of totalitarianism, but at the same time, our personal immaturities and repressed savageries can make us vulnerable to it. The participation type of culture may make men more susceptible in general to totalitarianism, although personal strivings toward maturity and individuality can offer them too some measure of protection against it. Because of the interaction between these social and personal forces, no culture is completely safe from internal attack by totalitarianism and from the mental destruction it may create. As I said before, our totalitaria is a mythical country, but the brutal truth is that any country can be turned into a totalitaria. The aims of the rulers of our fictitious country are simply formulated: despotism, the total domination of man and mankind, and the unity of the entire world under a dictatorial authority. At first glance, this idea of unity can be most attractive. The idea, oversimplified, of a brotherhood unity of nations under a central powerful agency. When the world is one, it would seem there will be no more war. The tensions that face us will be eliminated. Earth will become a paradise. But the simplified conception of a universal dictatorship is false and reflects the danger inherent in the totalitarian goal. All men are different, and it is the difference between them that creates the greatness, the variety, and the creative inspirations of life, as well as the tensions of social intercourse. The totalitarian conception of equalization can be realized only in death, when the chemical and physical laws that govern all of us take over completely. Death is indeed the great equalizer. In life, all of us are different. Our bodies and minds interact with one another and with the outside world in different ways. Each man's personality is unique. True, all of us share certain basic qualities with all the other members of the human race, but the differences in personality are also so many and so varied that no two men anywhere in the world or ever in all of human history can be said to be exactly alike. This uniqueness is as true of the citizen of totalitaria as it is of anyone else. As a human being, he is not only different from us, he is different from his compatriots. However, to create man in the totalitarian image through leveling and equalization means to suppress what is essentially personal and human in him, the uniqueness and the variety, and to create a society of robots, not men. The noted social scientist J.S. Brunner, in his introduction to Bauer's book on Soviet psychology, has expressed this thought in a different way. Man's image of the nature of man is not only a matter for objective inquiry, it is and has always been a prime instrument of social and political control. He who molds that image does so with enormous consequences for the society in which he lives. Totalitaria fosters the illusion that everyone is part of the government, a voter. No one can be a non-voter or anti-voter. His inner pros and cons and doubts are not private problems of the individual himself anymore. His thoughts belong to the state, the dictator, the ruling circle, the party. His inner thoughts have to be controlled. Only those in power know what really lies behind national policy. Only those in power know what really, the ordinary citizen becomes an independent and obedient as a child. In exchange for giving up his individuality, he obtains some special gratifications: the feeling of belonging and of being protected, the sense of relief over losing his personal boundaries and responsibilities, the ecstasy of being taken up and absorbed in wild, uncontrolled collective feelings, the safety of being anonymous, of being merely a cog in the wheel of the all-powerful state. The despotism of modern totalitaria is very different from the lush, exotic personal tyrannies of ancient times. It is an ascetic, cold, mechanical force aiming at what Hannah Arendt calls the transformation of human nature itself. In our theoretical country, man has no individual ego any longer, no personality, no self. A leveling system is at work, and everything above the common level is trampled on and beaten down. And I will stop right there. This was part 2 of The Rape of the Mind, The Psychology of Thought Control, Menticide, and Brainwashing by Just A.M. Merleau, M.D. And if you remember that this book was published originally in 1956. Okay? So I will see you in the next video.